Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. While you're at it, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's just get started on the video. It is going to be a great video. It's a fun day. We're outside, and being outside really helps with anxiety, stress, whatever you got going on in your life. So get outside at least 30 minutes, get some exercise, or just go sit outside and enjoy the weather. But today we're here to talk about fixing a problem. A couple weeks ago, or it's probably been a little bit further than that now, we had a tent out here. The tent's great, it works good, but it's just a little bit small, especially since my wife and I are going to be going in the backcountry of Colorado. We need something bigger and potentially something that can give us a heat source. And so I think we solved that problem with this tent right here. It is the Argali Absaroka 4-person tent, and it has the capability of taking a wood stove, and we haven't gotten the wood stove yet, but it is coming, so stand by for future videos with that. But let's put this thing up, baby. Should be pretty simple, should be pretty fast, I hope. Let's get started. Okay guys, what you're supposed to do is, this thing basically, it's a teepee, but it has basically a square shape to some degree, right? So what you're supposed to do is come out from the door, run a stake, then come out to this side. There's the other side of the door. Then you take this one, you kind of, they use a fancy term, pull it taut, and then let it then kind of take it back and kind of let it relax a little bit. Then you stake it down. Then after that, once you do that on 4 corners, then you go inside and set your center pole. It should be that easy. Then we have a few other things to stake down, but regardless, we'll get into that shortly. Let's do it. Then the key is to come up here, find your height, and then right there. Up there. There we go. Okay, so once you have the 4 corners, I call them the 4 corners, that one, and that one on the back side over there. Once you have those staked in, you put your center pole in like you already saw, and then you go around and you add your stakes there. There's one over there by the other door. Then you have one here as well. Ooh, almost twisted my ankle. I absolutely love this thing. I think it's a really good idea. I think the tent is really cool. I was actually tossing up the idea between 2 tents. There was this one, and there's another one by Peaks. They both, to me, I think the Peaks was really nice, but number one, they were out of stock. Number 2, there are about, I can almost buy 2 of these for the price of that one, almost. So I was like, they had this one in stock, and when I called both, I actually chatted with both owners, and they sold me on this one simply, number one, because it's almost half the price. It's like 60%. It's 40% less than what the other one is, which I'm sold right there. But number 2, what they said is they use a seal poly, which they had told me, and I don't know how true it is. I haven't Googled it. I took his word for it because he was very confident. I believed what he said. I don't know why he would lie to me. They use a seal poly. And what the seal poly does is, and now all tents are waterproof, but some tents, when he said 90% of other tents use a material that can somewhat absorb moisture, take in moisture, and basically that's what causes the sag. It gets heavy, it gets sag, and so they use a seal poly, which will not sag, will not take in moisture, or not absorb moisture, I should say, and should keep us dry and safe and warm, because there's a stove jack. And I absolutely love the fact that there's a stove jack, which we'll get to that in a minute. Now typically, so what you're supposed to do is, when you put this tent up, which we did, there's a door on each side, boom, here, and there's a stake. There's a stake for that one, and I guess the door there too. I just didn't use that one because we're going to zip it and go in and out. but you take a stake, you stake that corner down, you stake that corner down, you stake that one down there, and then there's another one on the other side. As you can see, there's a door there. So basically the corners by the doors you stake down. Now they use the term taut. I don't use that word. I don't know where that came from. You take it, I call it snug. You pull each corner snug, and then you let it relax a little bit. And then what you do is you open up the door, you walk in, and you set your center pole. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I like that concept. It sets up in just minutes. Now, what I will say is this: it didn't come with anything for these guys here. What I did, since I'm not using them, is I took the stakes from the one Tigers, because we're not using that right now. Probably not. It'll probably go with us on a trip, but it'll probably stay in the truck just as an emergency backup. We need something, we have it there. And then I use those stakes. I took some 550 cord, made a little tension knot there, and basically, and what that does, that kind of gives you a little bit more of this. It kind of helps the tent do this, especially if the wind's blowing in that corner, or if the wind's blowing on one side. It kind of keeps the walls from kind of caving in on you, but it does kind of give that tent a little feel of a little more room inside, which I do like. I just wish the tent came with some extra stakes and some cords to tie or to stake those down, and to kind of help you with that. But regardless, we improvised, we made it work. There is like I said, there is a door on the back side. Hopefully we won't use it. We'll see. We'll probably use it just for like, that's probably where we stock our wood at. Like once we get some cut, stack it in there so it can get dry, stay dry. Because that is the key as fire. You gotta stay warm, especially this last year. It got down to -9 on the mountain, which we're gonna be living on the mountain this time. So I'm really excited about. Wind chill was about -20, so it was really stinking cold. This tent is pretty phenomenal. Now what I will say is this: as you walk in, in order to access this vent is usually closed, right? But in order to access this vent, you have to use it. You have to have the door open. There is if you're inside the tent, there's a little zipper at the top. You can unzip it, stick your arm out and reach it. But that is the only way. Once this tent is up, that's the only way to reach that vent. Now, right here, we talked stove jacks earlier. It has an opening here for a stove jack. I believe it's a 3 to 3.5 inch pipe, I believe. Regardless, I'm just waiting for Argali to get their stoves, their titanium stove. It's like 3 pounds total. Once they get their titanium stove back in stock, we'll pick up one of those guys, because I'm probably okay without it. But Shauna is just a huge softie when it comes to being cold. She does not like being cold. I wonder it's gonna be cold. She still wants to go. But regardless, we're gonna put a stove in there to help keep her warm, so she can be happy. Happy wife, happy life. Anyways, regardless, this is it. This is the tent. I really like it. Now, granted, some of you are going, but there's no floor. Yes, there's no floor, and I am completely satisfied with that 1000%. And here's why. Now, what I did have to kind of help protect our air mattresses is I do have this little pad here. That is just a thin piece of fabric to help protect your air mattress. I got it from Seek Outside Outdoors, and they were only like $10, 10 or 12 bucks, and I like it. I apologize, I said Seek Outside Outdoors. It's Seek Outside, that's what it is. We bought 2 of those pads from Seek Outside, and they're actually way bigger than what you need, but basically I'll overlap 2 of them there. Shauna and I'll sleep there. She likes to cuddle anyway, so heck, we'll keep each other warm. I'm good with that. And then the stove on the other side. Oh man, and it'll keep our gear dry, keep us warm. Man, it's pretty stinking awesome. I do like it. But again, back on the topic of no flooring, every time we've gone, it's been raining or mostly snow, but regardless, we have mud tracks everywhere. And then when you have a flooring in the tent, either A, you're dropping your boots off outside, not bring them inside so you don't track mud inside, but then it kind of creates a problem, right? Your boots stay outside, they freeze, and then when you go to put them on the next day, the shoelaces are stiff, you can't hardly put them on, or they're wet. So to bring them inside, I'm glad there's no floor, so we can actually bring them inside, put them by the stove, get them nice and warm, keep them dry, and the shoelaces soft, because when they get ice cold, it's kind of hard to put back on the next day. Man, what else is there, guys? This tent is pretty cool. Now, what I will say is this, is right now I think the total height in there is about 5'10" ish. and that's at the very peak. Now let's talk about that for a second. You can make this thing up to about, I think about 6'4", but there's some things with that. All right, now if you want to make the thing taller, you gotta stake the thing in closer, which means then you lose surface inside. Number one. Number two, right now, let's take a look at this guy right here. We have this thing here all the way in. If we let it go, then it creates a bigger gap here, but then we can make the pole taller. It gives us more room inside. So it depends on what you want. It depends on what you have. If you want the tent taller, you're going to have to leave a bigger gap at the bottom of the tent so that you can make the tent taller, because you can't make the tent taller. The thing just doesn't stretch, guys. In order to make the tent taller, you're going to have a bigger gap there, which is fine if that's what you want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. It depends on your situation, it depends on your environment, depends on what you got going on, depends on the mountain. You can make it taller. You can put a bunch of snow right there, and the snow will actually create an insulator, keep the wind from going in there, and you can make the thing taller. If there's no snow but yours depends. It really depends on what you want, but it can fit your need, basically, is what I'm getting at. We can really go back and forth about what if this, what if that, but regardless, if you want to make this thing taller, you either you sacrifice air gap there, or you sacrifice surface area inside and bring the stakes in closer. And that's ultimately what you have to do. It's going to be one or the other. You have to kind of look at what you want, what your needs are at the time. And I think once we get on the mountain, we're going to kind of play with space and see what we can do, because we can always bring it in a little closer, or we can make it a little wider. But if we make it wider, we do lose some height inside the tent, which I am perfectly okay with, because regardless, at that height right there, I can still kind of stand up. I might be hunched over, but I can put my pants on, and I can just kneel down and take a shirt off. I'm good with that. That is fine. And the one Tigris, yeah, there's none of that. You have to get out of the tent into the cold to put your pants on. I tried. Yeah, it was horrible. But man, this tent is freaking awesome. I love it. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to get us there, keep us safe, and man. Real quick, guys, before I start taking this tent down, and we're going to have to start sealing it really quick. But regardless, the one thing I would say about this tent, you buy the tent, you don't get the center pole. It doesn't come with it. You have to order this pole separately. It was only $70, but you have other options. Number one, the first kind of option you can do is you can actually buy some Argali walking sticks, and basically they double down, they kind of screw together, so you can actually use those as a center pole. That is one option. It can help you cut weight. Another option would be, let's say, my only problem with using the walking sticks is that you either have to have an extra pair of walking sticks, or B, you have to tear the tent down every day. I didn't really want to do that, especially since it's going to have a stove inside. But another option could be is if you know there's going to be sticks out there, you can go out there, you can cut you a stick that's going to be the exact height you need, or something you could trim down to the size you need, and you can use that as a center pole. And that would also save you some money, save you some weight. It just gives you basically three options you have. I did opt for the center pole. The center pole is a very light pole. It snaps together. It has very obvious male and female parts that you can snap together, and there's no way you can confuse it. You could probably do it one way or another, top or bottom. I kind of like to have the adjustment piece at the top, so I can run it as snug or as loose as I want, depending if I want to make some changes as far as the height goes. But anyways, guys, I do love y'all. Y'all be safe. Get outside. Have fun.